A lot of volleyball athletes want this or this, but they wait until their season to start training to get that. Now, this is one of the big problems when athletes and teams are starting up the season. The first one being starting their off-season training when they're in season. Now, the reason why training like you're in off-season during in-season is a problem is because this can lead to a lot of overuse injuries, a lot of excess fatigue, overtraining, and ultimately worse performance. And when you're in season, you want to make sure that you're playing at your best. If we want to get gains happen when we rest and when we recover. But if we go into the gym training like it's off season, that's going to be a lot of stresses. Not only that, you also have your practices and your games, let's say, and this is already putting a lot of load on you, and you're going to need a lot of time to rest and recover. But if you're training like you're in off season, you're going to be putting even more stress. So you're going to be adding to the problem. You're going to be doing more of what you're already doing on the court, or what you need to be doing on the court. You're basically doing too much, and this is going to be a lot on your body, and you're not going to have enough time to recover. You're not going to have enough in you to recover. You need resources in your body so that you can recover. And this can also lead people to burn out, feeling irritable. This is all overtraining stuff. You're going to have worse sleep, and then this is going to affect your recovery. When you sleep, you recover, and if you're not getting quality sleep, then you're going to be getting worse. All right? It's the same thing with daily stressors. When you're training, you're putting stress on your body, and stress is stress. So if I also have school stress, life stress, right? Friendship stress, then this is all stress on the body. And if I don't have the resources to handle that, or if I'm doing so much, then I'm going to break down and I'm going to get worse and worse and worse. So we need to prioritize recovery, especially in the in-season. We need to make sure that we are recovered well so that we can perform our best. I did this a bunch when I was in high school, even university too. I did not train the best, right? So even in season, I was trying to lift heavy. I'm trying to jump as high as I can, and I'm doing that like every other day. Not only that, I got school as well. I got anatomy, I got physiology, psychology, and all of these things are putting more of a demand on my body, on my mind, and I'm not going to be able to recover well if I don't prioritize recovery. Point is, I wasn't training well in season. Now, let's say I did train well in season, right? Maybe I just stuck to the program that they gave me. Then that would be optimal. Let's say they're managing my load well, they're giving me the amount of reps and sets and the amount of exercises, the time that I'm working out. They're putting all that in, even the types of exercises too. Let's say those are all good, and I have practices, which is more load. And if I want to do more stuff, then that's going to be just too much on my body, depending on what I do, of course. If I'm doing another program and I'm training off season, that's going to be way too much. And in the BFV program, we have in season, off season, preseason. Let's say you're in season and you hit that off season program, and I don't know how much training you guys are going to be doing, so it could be a lot of load for you. Some of you, it could be okay. Maybe you just have a very light season. You have one practice a week. You have one game every month or something. Then you can probably do that off-season program, but it does depend on how much load you're getting. Even load in itself is going to be more relative based off of what that athlete can handle, which is based off of their exercise, their training history. If I'm completely untrained and I'm doing practices, let's say I'm just doing practices, I've never practiced before, that's going to be a lot of load on the body. I have no exercise history, right? I don't know how much load I can handle. I want to just do those practices and then see, how I feel, get my body used to moving. And then, or even in the training side, let's say I've never done a workout program before. I don't want to go and do 6 programs or work out 6 times a week, crazy intense, and I don't want to necessarily start the off-season program just like how it is. In the program, I tell you guys to start gradual. Maybe just do 1 set, maybe just do the warm-up, maybe do half of the workout, because it might be too much for you, okay? And especially if you're untrained, it's going to be too much for you. It's a new stressor to your body, so it's going to be a lot. I'm digressing. I think I'm going way off here. Oh yeah, we're talking about load. Okay, but if you're someone that is more advanced, right, you're someone who is well trained, you have a lot of history, you usually train 3 times a week, maybe an hour and a half, you do these certain exercises, you know your weights, you know what you can handle, then that is going to be okay. You have a baseline of what you can handle, and you can alter things based off of that. So if the program is 5 days a week, you're like, okay, maybe I'll have my 3 main days, I'll take those really light just for the first week or two, and then I'll have my 2 days that are the core mobility, and I'll do those half as well, half sets or 1 set. And then I want to gradually increase the sets, increase the load, increase the volume, and this is going to be gradual, and then you see more so what your body can handle. And you want to increase it by about 10% each week. That is a super gradual increase in your load. Now, all of that was just about load management, okay, which is a very big concept. We don't have to get into that right now, but it's basically just managing your load so that it's not too much or it's not too little. It's way better to err on the less side and then gradually work your way into it, because if you do too much, you're probably going to get hurt. You're going to be not able to train the next day or the day after, and the whole point is to be consistent and get this stimuli so that you can build and adapt and get the training adaptation that you want. But if you're training off season and you have practices every day, this is a lot of load. You're going to be doing too much, and you need to change what it is that you're doing. So it's not bad. We still need to train in season, but you just need to be smart about it. It depends on what you do, on the exercises you do, and how you do them, and the amount of time that you're doing them. It depends on all of those things. So to train in season better, you need to organize your program so that you're getting in the gym what you're not getting on the court, which is strength. You're not getting a lot of strength on the court. You're not getting always a maximum explosive jumps, because sometimes you're only going to jump to the height of the set, and you can jump a lot higher. Let's say you can touch 11.8. Sometimes the set isn't always going to be at 11.8. It's going to be more so around that 10.6, 10.8 maybe, right? Which is not your maximum height, but you are going to be getting a lot of jumps, right? These are medium to high intensity jumps, so we do want to sprinkle in some maximal jumps, not a lot. These are intense but low volume. We can even take this further and jump onto a box, so that now we're not getting excessive landing forces, which we are getting on the court. Might not be from the same height, but we're getting a lot of them. So jumping onto a box is going to reduce the landing forces, reduce the impact that we're getting in the training gym, because we're getting those on the court already, and it's not going to be adding to the problem, okay? If you're doing a lot of those things that you're already getting on the court, you're going to be beating yourself down a lot, and you're not going to be able to build, or not giving yourself enough time. In season, we have a lot of practices, we have a lot of games, we got training, so you need to prioritize recovery, just like what I said in the beginning. So if you're training a lot in season, then you need a smart training program that is tailored to the demands of volleyball, and that is designed to increase your performance in season. And even if you didn't train in the off season, we have an 8-week preseason program that transitions you into that in-season program. So you're going to be working on your volleyball specific conditioning. You got strength in there as well, and explosiveness, and that's going to transition you to the training that you get in the in-season program that's 5 months, so that you can get built and stay built for volleyball. So that was the first problem, training how you would train in off season and in season. The second big problem is not training at all in the off season and just going right into your preseason or into your in season. Now, the reason why this is a problem is because, just like what I mentioned before, gradually introducing your loads is super important. But if you're not training and you just go into preseason, that's going to be, if this is your load, it's going to be like this. It's going to be a huge spike in your loading, and that is a recipe for disaster, for overuse injuries. And if you're injured, if you have like a nagging pain, it's not going to have time to recover. It's going to stay there for the whole season if you're not giving enough time to rest. We can help prevent that by just gradually increasing your load and just being smart with your training and what you're doing. Now, preseason is a big one because a lot of teams, they're coming back from the summer. Maybe they're playing beach. Maybe they were away for the summer. They're working, right? They have school. Maybe they have other priorities, and then they come into preseason and then they're just thrown into the fire, and that is crazy. And preseason for some teams can be a week, 2 weeks, right? That training camp portion, that is where a lot of injuries can happen. And if you're getting those injuries, even small ones, you're not going to have time to recover if you don't prioritize rest. We can help reduce the likelihood of those happening by gradually introducing your load. Instead of throwing them into the fire like that, maybe you have, well, one, you want to train in the off season and then gradually transfer into that preseason work. So, but if you didn't train, then you got to go like half of the volume of what you would normally do, maybe even 20% of what you would do. Just get them in the gym, get them moving, maybe take them through some passing, not jumping, no sprints, no intense cut work. You're doing your low level plyometrics. In the gym, we're just doing general work, not a lot of volume per se, where the sets are really high. We're not doing 3 of 10, or maybe you are doing 3 of 10, but the weight is just not what you would normally use. It's just gonna be like 50% of that. And that is super gradual. It's much better to play it safe and then gradually ramp up from there, as opposed to then being sore. Because being sore in season is the worst. It's gonna alter your technique. It's gonna alter just the way that you feel too. I used to really want to be sore. I didn't think I was ready until I was sore, but that's just more of a me thing in my mind. And it really wasn't doing me any good. Had I rested, had I recovered, had I trained smart, then I would actually feel more explosive. I would actually feel more ready, more fluid, more in the game. Maybe I'm less tired too, because I didn't do work that I didn't need. All of these things are important when you're training in season. You want to make sure that you're setting up your training program that optimizes your performance, because all of this training that you're doing is to play better on the court. And if you're not doing the right things that are helping you play on the court, then you're not training smart. You're maybe getting worse, or you're not improving, or maybe you're not improving as much as you could, and we don't want to get worse when we're in season. Now, I want to touch on being sore. Even when you go from off-season to preseason, you're going to be doing different things. That's why we want to be gradual in there. We want to have things overlap and gradually introduce things so that we're not just rapidly changing things. So as you're changing phases, you want to have a little bit of a transition phase where you're maybe introducing one of the exercises just at a very low level. That's going to be in the next phase. Or you have a middle exercise that you're gonna do. So let's say I have just low level hops and then I have drop jumps here. Maybe I wanna have a double reactive jump where I'm jumping up and then I have a little pop, and then jumping up again and I have a little hop. That could be a middle transition one as well, and then you're getting into that drop jump. But the point is that these are all new stimulus, and a new stimulus is more likely to make you sore because you've never performed them before, right? And where I was going with that is being sore is not gonna help you with your performance. You don't wanna train to be sore. Being sore means you did too much, all right? So whenever I get athletes that are like, oh, like, I'm not too sore, or like, I want to be sore. Like, if you're not sore, you didn't do enough. It's the opposite. If you're really sore, you did too much. And we want to bring that back down. I want my athletes, let's say we're just starting them out, I'm okay with them being about a 3 out of 10 soreness. Now, 10 out of 10 means you're trying to sit and you're going super, super, super slow because it hurts. You can't even bend your knees, or you can't even get up without it hurting so much. That's not good. That means you did way too much. 3 out of 10, you're kind of sore, you kind of feel it, but you can still do an explosive jump after a pretty good warm up. You can still be explosive, you still feel good, you're not changing your patterns, right? Because if we're sore in season, one, we're not going to be able to practice well, we're not going to feel good, maybe we're going to need longer of a warm up, or you're not going to want to do certain movements, right? Maybe you don't want to go down to the floor because your legs are too sore, or you don't want to hit because your shoulders are too sore, or whatever the case is. But the other main reason is because it can alter your technique, or you might want to change your technique. And this isn't a good thing, because we want to train the right patterns. We want to train the optimal patterns for optimal transfer of force into the ball. But if we're changing the pattern, then all of a sudden now we're using new parts of our body that aren't necessarily used to it. So we're exposing those parts of the body to higher loads or just more load in general. And one, it's not going to be an optimal transfer force, and two, it's going to be too much for that, and that can lead to an injury just because they're not necessarily ready. So being sore is just not a good thing. Don't train to just try to be sore. I don't recommend that. Remember, the point is to get that adaptation and to play your best, peaking for playoffs. So it's way better to do less and just gradually work your way up 10% each week, because rapidly increasing the training demand is not going to rapidly increase the amount of gains that you get.